This is the Shaver Prep Football Podcast, episode number 2. I'm glad you're here. I'm Randy Shaver. I worked 41 years at Care TV in the Twin Cities TV market. I love prep football. Did a show called the Prep Sports Extra for 40 years. Prep football is a passion of mine, and this podcast will center on Minnesota high school football. My goal is to make it broad enough to appeal to not just players and coaches, but fans and boosters and community as well. We will talk to the playmakers, we'll talk to the keepers of the game, but we'll also talk to former great football players or current great football players that played in Minnesota and for Minnesota. And so we hope to cover a lot of bases during the course of our podcast. For example, in a few minutes, former Eden Prairie star, former Gopher star, and current Minnesota Vikings linebacker Blake Cashman will join me to talk about his football journey, which is still very much going right now. But first, two quarterbacks in Minnesota are stealing the headlines. Two junior quarterbacks, Mason West of Edina and Nick Kinsey of Stillwater, both being highly recruited Division I to play college football. If you're a quarterback in Minnesota, pay attention to these two guys because they're pretty special. Mason West and Nick Kinsey. Lots of quarterback talent in the room with Nick Kinsey of Stillwater, Mason West of Edina. These are two junior quarterbacks, junior year coming up 2024. Both had great sophomore seasons. Both are heavily recruited right now. Thanks for being here, you guys. I know that two-a-days are underway. You guys are beginning that process of your junior year. Tell me about your offseason leading up to the summer, and I'll start with you, Nick. What kind of things did you focus on to get yourself ready for your junior season?
A lot of coaches, they said they want to see more athleticism, more playmaking in the pocket. So just been working on, moving side to side in the pocket and getting faster, stronger, and working on that chemistry with my receivers. Just never can have enough of that.
When you say size, what were you a year ago? What are you now as far as size?
A year ago I was probably 195, 200. Now I'm 210, 215, that range. But I put on good weight, and I've gotten a lot faster. So I'm really happy with the results after this offseason.
And that's the key, right, Mason, is to put on good weight.
You don't want to put on bad
weight. It's hard for you guys to put on bad weight because you're both so active and everything. How about for you? Because I know you play hockey. You had a great hockey season. You guys won the state AA tournament. For football right now, what are the things that you worked on as you head into two-a-days?
Right now, obviously, it's like there's a lot of people like busy during the summer, like wide receivers. So it's like, for me, it's like important to at least throw like 2 or 3 times a week with like, even if it's like one receiver or like 2 receivers, just to get that like connection. And like with the team, like make sure to like go to lifts and just like lifting as a team, building like a chemistry. Because we had like a lot of guys leave. Yeah. So like, and like they were like huge parts of our team last year. So it's kind of like, you got to build that chemistry throughout the summer so it leads into like the season.
I know that you, because you play hockey and football, that you, in the summer, you do both, right? You train both. Tell me your schedule on a typical day in the summer.
Typical day is probably wake up, have football practice from like 8 to 10. Then I usually lift from 11 to 12, and then hockey around like 1 or 2. And then either skate again at like 7 or 8 or just relax and recover.
Is it fair to ask which sport you like most at this point?
It's kind of 50-50. I don't really know. I like them both
kind
the
of
same.
whatever the season is.
Yeah,
maybe?
exactly.
Yeah. How about you physical from a year ago? How are you different? Put on some weight, grown a little bit? What would you?
Yeah, for sure. I was probably like 190, like 6'2", 6'3". Now I'm like 6'6", about like 215.
Wow. So it's been a good growth period for you.
For sure.
Yeah. Both you guys are being recruited Division I. If you go on their X accounts, you can see some of the teams that are recruiting you. Nick, give us a short list of some of the teams that have either they've offered you or they're looking at you hard.
I have 6 offers right now. I have Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, UConn, Central Michigan, Miami, and and then, yeah, I forgot the other one. I'm
Okay.
sorry. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I talked to Georgia Tech, and I talked to Georgia Tech, Duke, Central Michigan, Coastal Carolina. I talked to them the most actively, and I talked to Ole Miss a little bit as well. So.
Did you go to camps this summer where they got a chance to see you, or does that come next year?
No, I've been going to camp since I was, in 8th grade. So 8th, 9th, 10th grade, I've gone to camps, and that's kind of how you get out there as a Minnesota quarterback. It's tough. They don't
Yep.
they don't love Minnesota quarterbacks, Minnesota skill guys. So you really got to put your name out there and really go on their recruiting tour.
I've said that before, that the arms and the legs, usually if you're a Gopher fan, normally the arms and legs come from outside the state. It's the beef that stays in the state, right? The linemen that stay in the state. How about for you? What's your recruiting situation look like?
Yeah, for me, I have 3 offers right now. It's Kent State, Marshall, and Miami of Ohio. So those are the 3 offers. And then other schools that I'm like talking to are just like Wisconsin and Minnesota and like Kansas. And I've been to like all their camps over the summer. So yeah, those are some.
How did those go? And did you get a feel for where you might fit?
Yeah, I've never really been to like a whole lot of camps. I just started like this year, and like even like the campuses were all different. And like my parents kept asking like, what'd you like? And like they're all like different. It's like weird because like Kansas it's like hilly, Wisconsin's like more city like. But like I liked Wisconsin a lot too. It was like super cool. I had a little feel for them. But yeah.
So how does hockey play into your recruiting process? Because I assume you're going to be recruited for hockey as well.
Yeah, obviously it's like a little difficult. Like there's a lot for both. But you kind of just got to sort it out. And just like for me, it's kind of just like developing right now and just like playing both as long as I can. Because I feel like hockey makes me a better football player and football makes you a better hockey player.
So as you guys head into your junior seasons 2024, do you set personal goals? I know everybody wants to win state. I get that. But personal goals that you guys, in your mind, maybe based off of last year and how you did, but some either a yardage number or touchdowns to interception ratio or something. Nick, what would you say as you look at 2024?
Like you said, the main goal is to win state. Leave the seniors with a good taste and just go out there and dominate with my boys. But I do have personal goals, and that goal is 3,000 yards and like 5-6 to 1 touchdown to interception, kind of similar to what I was last year for touchdown to interception.
If I remember right, you lost your number 1 receiver, right? Graduated?
Yeah, I lost all 4 of my receivers actually.
All 4 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a whole new group to work with.
Yeah, so that's really what I've been working on. The whole winter is building that chemistry, building their confidence up, and making sure I can get the ball to them when I need it.
Is that a little bit frustrating when you're with a group that doesn't quite have that experience?
It's not frustrating. It's just, you just have to keep in mind that, these guys, they don't really have, that varsity experience, but that I trust them and I know they're going to get the job done when I need them to, because if I put the ball in the right spot, then I have the trust that they're going to make the play that I need them to. In
contrast to that, you've got Meyer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who's already committed to Cal, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got a seasoned veteran receiver there.
Yeah, that's
a guy
super
that
nice.
And that's a big thing, right? You got to have trust with receivers.
Exactly. Yeah.
How about for him? I mean, that chemistry between you and Meyer.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like Nick said, like obviously winning a state championship and maybe not getting stuff from the 1 yard line, trying to finish that. But other than that, I mean, some goals are just like give my teammates like a better chance, even if like they're not getting more recruited. Maybe just like if I can help them get like 500 yards, or if they each need like 4 touchdowns, maybe just give them a chance to get that kind of exposure outside of football.
For people that don't remember, Edina made it all the way to the 6A state championship game against Centennial, came up short in a very good football game. You guys played against each other last year. Do you remember? You got hurt, I believe, in this game, right? Against Edina?
The first one, yeah.
In the regular season.
Week 7, yeah. I got
a
concussion.
What happened? Concussion?
Yeah, first drive of the game.
Were you trying to run and you shouldn't have been running?
Actually, it was...
Because I know Bo LeBoer is like, don't run, man. Don't do that.
Yeah, he's not a big fan of me running, but this year, I feel like a lot's changed, so he'll be okay with that. But it was third and 10, and outside backer came. He hit me. He spun me on the ground, hit the side of my head in the turf, and tried to go drive after that, but just wasn't in it.
Yeah. You missed a game, then you came back, finished the season.
Yep.
You guys played again in the postseason,
And,
right?
Yeah, section
And
championship.
you guys got that one
Yeah,
too.
we had a good game.
Yeah. State quarters, they jumped on us, and you know, they yeah, that's what happened. I mean, it was just some unfortunate stuff, and they were a good team last year, and they're gonna be a good team again this year. So it'll be fun. Week 7 again. Well,
here's the good news. Thursday night, October 10th, you guys meet again. This will be at Edina in the regular season. Are you looking forward to the matchup? Do you guys kind of look at each other's stats or kind of compare each other? Because you are, without a doubt, going to be the 2 most highly recruited quarterbacks in quite a while out of Minnesota. Do you guys kind of have a little bit of a rivalry or compare each other? Or?
I mean, maybe on the field, just want to like win. That's my rivalry, but I don't really care about the stats part. I mean, all that matters is like winning to me. So,
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it's just two quarterbacks in the same class, and we're both going to compete for what we want the most, and that's to win. So, I mean, I would say there's a little bit of rivalry, but not really tension or hatred or any of that kind of stuff.
And the good thing is you guys are so early in your football journey. I mean, you've just really kind of started, right? I mean, I know you played youth football and all those things, but you both started sophomore year. You both played great in your sophomore season, and now here you are in your junior season. And a lot of people say it's the junior season that kind of makes or breaks a potential Division I prospect. Would you agree with that? And then how much pressure do you put on yourself because of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously junior year is like a big year because if you don't have like a lot of years, it's kind of like, especially getting recruited in like Minnesota, it's hard to get like film and like talk to like different coaches if you don't have like enough film. And like junior year kind of helps too. I mean, I don't put a whole lot of pressure on myself. I mean, I think things will obviously work out for itself if you just buy into the process and keep working hard. I think you don't have to worry about all the other stuff. I think everything will work out for itself.
How about for you, Nick?
You know, all the coaches, they kind of say, you know, hey, like the junior season, like that's the one, like it's kind of go time. So I have a little bit of a different mindset. It's just like, you know, I've been stressing myself all winter and all spring, like, you know, everything the coaches have said to me and everything that my team has said to me about, you know, what I can do better. And so I put some pressure on myself, but not enough to like break me or anything. But it's got to be a good year, and just got to go out there and compete and do my thing.
What's the best advice a coach or a mentor ever gave you that maybe is stuck in your head as you keep moving forward in your football journey?
You know, it's not really words of help, but it's something I can do better, and that's something Chip Lindsey from North Carolina said to me was, you know, like, hey, we want to see you get faster, we want to see you get more agile, and we want to see this and this, and that's kind of just stuck with me and like helped drove me just through this offseason and to compete and grind.
How about for you?
Yeah, I'd say my wide receiver coach, Kyle Folks, kind of gave me like a little words of wisdom or some advice from last year and following into this year. It's just like trust yourself, because last year, I mean, coming in as a sophomore, I was a little more nervous, hadn't played a varsity game yet, and he just told me to keep trusting myself. And then once I kind of like learned that and like kind of listened to him, it kind of helped me play better. And I think that's something that really helped me last year.
There are young quarterbacks who are watching this, quarterbacks that are freshmen, sophomore, juniors who are, you know, in the beginning of their journey. What's the one thing you learned about this position and about you guys, that some advice you can give them, things to think about, to work on, to focus on? What would you say to young quarterbacks?
Yeah, well, I say everyone can kind of throw, but everyone can't like read a defense so well. So I'd say spend more time on like the mental game, learning like defenses, learning how to kind of find open spaces on the field, find like quick 5 yards to get a first down, or just like the mental aspect of the game is honestly probably more important than the physical aspect.
And that's not necessarily the fun part of football, right?
Yeah,
that's the reading the film and understanding.
Yeah, it takes time.
How about you, Nick?
You know, one thing I'd tell all the young quarterbacks ever is just you got to be composed out there, and you got to know that you're the man on the field and everything runs through you, because if your quarterback isn't good on your team, then it's not going to be a very successful team. You know, that guy needs to be the leader. That guy needs to be vocal, and he needs to lead by example. And like what Mason said too is like the coverage part. You know, I spend a lot of hours during the off season on just watching film of NFL, even Madden. Madden helps a lot. That's what my coaches tell me is, you know, they say just look at coverages on Madden, and I load up a game and I just play. You know? Yeah.
Well, the college game just came out, and so theoretically, in 2 years, 3 years, you guys could be in that college game. Now, how crazy would that be if you end up part of the game?
And I mean, I think that's crazy. Like, that's like to be playing with these guys and then think about like, wow, like these like kids could be looking up to us one day. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. How about you? Are you a gamer? Do you play those?
Yeah, I feel like my overall probably wouldn't be too high the first year, so might not play too good, but it'd be fun. I've always dreamed of that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in. Nick's Stillwater team opens the season at Lakeville North. It will not be an easy game on Thursday night, August 29th. You guys open against Egan on that Thursday night. And again, these two teams will meet in October. So, Nick Kinsey, thank you very much. Mason West, thank you very much. And we'll be right back. Hey, a friend heard me talking about Truestone Financial on the podcast and told me she always sees Truestone sponsoring prep sports, academics, and the arts. I do too. I know the people at Truestone, and making an impact in the community is important to them. As a neighborhood credit union, they generously support our schools, our students, and their families. Truestone members and employees are part of those communities, so giving back is in their nature. Truestone has a vision to deliver exceptional financial experiences, but they're also much more than that. They're part of our neighborhood, and they're committed to making our communities better places to live. Learn more about Truestone's community impact, follow them on social media, or visit truestone.org. Vikings linebacker Blake Cashman joins me now. He has kind of come full circle, Eden Prairie to the Gophers and to the NFL, and has found his way back home to Minnesota to play for the Vikings. Blake, you're in the middle of training camp. Your first preseason game is Saturday, August 10th against the Raiders. What is your approach now that you're in year 6 of the NFL? What's your approach to training camp and getting yourself ready for the start of the season?
Well, going into year 6, I think every year, gets a little easier in terms of handling it mentally. But I kind of go in with the same mindset that, any day, any year can be your last. And because I don't take this for granted, it's a blessing. I remember my special teams coordinator, who I had a really great relationship with when in New York when I was drafted there. He told me that no matter what year you are in your career, no matter how confident you are in your performance over the years, always keep, that, tick on the back of your neck that like, this could be it for me. So, I approach every day with the mindset that, I want to put my best foot forward and make myself better, make my teammates better, because at the end of the day, iron sharpens iron, and we all want to be out there competing to create the best football team that the Minnesota Vikings can have.
For those that don't know, Blake was drafted by the New York Jets in 2019 in round 5, played for the Houston Texans. You had a breakout year last year. He had a fabulous year, over 106 tackles and 9 tackles for losses. It ends up giving you the opportunity to sign a pretty good deal with the Vikings, a 3-year contract. What has this NFL journey been like? We'll talk about EP and the Gophers in a second, but just this NFL journey for you, what has it been like?
It's definitely had its ups and downs, especially early on. But over the last, 2 years going into this third year, like it's been like a second chance almost for me. I feel like, I've been able to figure out what my body needs to keep me available out there on the field and playing every Sunday. And, I've been able to have great coaches and teammates around me that I think has elevated my game each year, which has allowed me to capitalize on the opportunities that have been given to me recently. But, I appreciate it all. I always say you gotta, find gratitude in the good and bad and everything in between, because that's what molds you as a man and as a player. And, I believe that the toughest people, the toughest competitors, they they grow through adversity and all the pains that, playing in the NFL can bring.
Eden Prairie won 4 consecutive state titles between 2011 and 2014. You were in school for all 4 of those titles. I'm not sure, did you play as a freshman, as a sophomore, or were you just on the team at that point?
I did not play as a freshman, but sophomore year, I practiced with varsity. I had an injury that kept me out most of the season, but towards the end of the year, I was actually playing cornerback. I was a corner out there. But even being a part of that, being able to see the upperclassmen, how they took care of business, how they approached their everyday life, not just on the practice field and on game day, but in the classroom as well. Like it taught me how to be a better man, better player, and I think that's what the Eden Prairie football program is all about: is building great men.
So 2014, Blake is a first team all Metro, all state player as a senior. You were part of if I have this number right, you won the last 22 games of your high school career. You did not lose a game your junior year and your senior year. I think you lost one maybe in the sophomore year. And then they went on and won 10 more games after you left. So they had like a streak of about 32, 33 wins in a row. What was that like at Eden Prairie? Because that's kind of like the pinnacle of where Mike Grant took this program back in the mid 210s, 211, 212, in that range.
Well, I think everybody that has been through that program or has been a fan of it in the community, like that's what was expected. We always talk about in Eden Prairie, there's a standard that has to be met every day, and you have to show up and be prepared to meet those expectations. So Mike Grant's done a great job. That entire coaching staff, still have great relationships with a lot of them today. And even though I've been removed out of high school now for like a decade, I still tap into their games, follow their scores and stats, and cheering them on every Friday.
What's the best advice that Mike Grant ever gave you as a player?
I would say he's got a lot of great lines, great stories on just what it takes to be a great young man. But I just said it earlier, like the program builds young men, and that's what he always speaks on. But he always tells players, even from a young age, when they're in the football EP football association, the youth association, that you have to live your life at a championship standard. Football is a privilege. So if you want to play in this great program, like you have to earn that every day, do the right things in the classroom, in the community, be engaged with your family, friends, all that, because football can be taken away from you at any moment. And like I said, you can't lose sight that, it is a privilege. So don't take it for granted.
He also likes to have a lot of fun. One of his favorite lines to me was, "We've never won a warm up." You're not like organized. Everybody's lined up. You've never won a warm up, but obviously the games are different. In practices, I've been to a few EP practices with Mike. He is very low key, laid back. His staff is such a veteran group of guys. They know exactly what they're trying to accomplish. How did you find those practices? And then kind of compare that to where you are, where you were with the Gophers and where you are now at the NFL.
It's funny because the way we practice at Eden Prairie is more similar to how the NFL practices are than
really
college. Yeah. But he carries that same approach that they have in the NFL, the philosophy that, a healthy team and the team that has their players available is going to be a better team and a team that goes far late in the season. And, from my experience in football, that has always remained true. But he takes a lot of pride in his team knowing what's going on the field, being students of the game, and he wants those teams, every team he coaches, to be player led, because if coaches are leading or nobody's leading, you're not going to have a very good football team. It all starts in that locker room.
So how do your EP buddies feel about you not being a West Side guy anymore?
They give me some crap about that. I can't believe you're an Egan now, but it was the right move. And I was a little worried. I thought I was going to have A little buyer's remorse there. But I've been happy with my decision to be over here. It's, makes that work life
You're
a lot
close to
easier.
work, right? That's
Yes.
what it's all about. You're not like any other person that wants to be close to work, so it all works out. Um, Talk about the Gophers for a second, because one of my memories of you, I want to say it was your last season. It was against the Badgers, and you guys won the Axe, but you got tossed from that
Mhm.
game. Tell that story, because am I correct about that?
Yeah.
You didn't finish the Axe game. I think it was the only trophy game you won
It was.
at Minnesota.
Yeah. You know, it's always probably the game I'm most excited for every year when I was at
Yeah.
Minnesota. And, um, I was playing a lot of defense, but they loved having me on punt and actually lined me up, like kind of split out from the formation. I guess in NFL terminology, you consider that like a gunner,
Yeah. Right.
and beat the guy right off the ball. I kind of peeked my eyes up, and I'm like, this guy he ain't fair catching. So he was a little returner, quick returner, but he squatted down to catch the ball. And I did duck my head a little bit, but I didn't make helmet to helmet contact. My
Yeah.
left shoulder pad went right through his face mask, and it was, a bang bang play, and they threw the flag, said it was targeting. And then I immediately am just sick to my stomach. I'm like, it
Oh
never
no.
really ever gets overturned.
Well,
So
yeah,
I'm
because it was
pleading.
reviewed, right? It
It
was
was.
reviewed. Yeah.
And I was pleading my case to the official, like trying to explain that I never made contact with my head. I pulled
Yeah.
my head off to the side and used all my left shoulder. And they reviewed it for a while. And then Fleck and the head official came over. They're just like, sorry, kid, you're out of here.
Oh boy.
And I was just
That's
crushed because
tough.
I felt like it was a game we were controlling, and it was a game in a year that we had a really good opportunity to not only win but dominate Wisconsin, and I want to be out there for that. And the worst part about it is when they threw me out the game, they didn't let me watch it. So
Yeah, because you had to go like off in the locker room or whatever,
yeah, and
right?
they had no TVs and no cell reception, nothing down there. So I had to take this plastic chair, sit at the end of the tunnel. All I could see was about a third of the scoreboard, and that's how I had to watch the second half of the football game. They had a security guy down there making sure I didn't cross this certain line.
Well,
But
tell me you got out there to celebrate.
oh, I did
Oh
because
yeah.
he he told me you cannot go on the field because we were up, I think like 2 or 3 scores something down. The game's over,
Yeah.
and he told me I cannot go on the field until that clock hits zero. Well, at about I think 12 seconds left in the game clock, we started clearing the benches and going to get the axe.
Yeah.
I was like, screw it. I remember I think I tossed the chair like at him, and I just started sprinting down the tunnel and made
Oh
sure I
man.
got right in the middle of that circle so I could get my hands on the axe to cut down the goalpost.
That's awesome. I do remember all of that happening, and I remember that there was quite the conversation about that hit, because it certainly was a shady call, I guess, more or less. There's high school football players and coaches who are watching this as their season begins. What's the best advice that you could give a high school football player who's out there right now? They see you, you're in the NFL. What should they focus on? What should they think about as a high school football player if they want to have the kind of football journey that you've had?
Well, I would first off, I've already said it a few times, but you can't take it for granted. I've played in amazing stadiums at the highest level, living out my dream, and still my favorite memories playing football come Friday night lights. And there's just something special about it, about, growing up in a community, knowing everything about your teammates, their families, and just all the years of growth that you guys and your teammates have shared together to get, to that special
Yep.
senior season. But when it comes to, your mindset or approach on things, like don't skip any steps in the process of getting better. And everybody's got their own avenue on what they need to work on and how they can improve their game. But don't skip anything in that process. I was a walk-on at the University of Minnesota. I didn't have colleges after me, which was really discouraging, but I stayed disciplined and stayed focused. And those are two things, Mike Grant preached to us. I remember being in 5th grade. And he's like, the teams that are champions, the players that are champions, they know how to remain focused for long, strenuous periods, months at a time. And I never cheated a day, never cheated a rep. And if I was tired, slacking off, like I had the right people around me, the right circle to, hold myself accountable. So, I think if you do that, at least no matter how it turns out, you put your best foot forward every day and you were chasing a better version of yourself. And if you do that, you can't have any regrets.
And that's great advice because, like you said, you were a walk-on. I mean, even that part of your life you knew was going to be a tough challenge once you got to Minnesota. I thank you so much for doing this. I wish you nothing but good luck. It's fun to have you back in the home state to see you play. It must be a little bit weird though wearing purple because didn't you grow up a Packer fan?
I did, and I
What are
tried to
you
keep
doing, dude? What are you doing?
I tried to keep that a secret for as long as possible, but I knew it was bound to get out. But yeah, I did grow up a Packers fan, but I tell everyone the second I started preparing for the NFL and I started understanding the business side of it and just wanting to put on any NFL helmet because that's my dream, I stopped being a Packers fan. And no matter if I would have never in my career played for the Minnesota Vikings, I would never have retired from the game and gone back to being that passionate Green Bay Packers fan. I'm a football fan now, a Viking fan now, and I could not be any more excited about being here because when the Minnesota Vikings were a team that was going to be a real possibility, I told my agent, I said, there's nowhere else I want to be. And that, keep in mind that there might have been opportunities to go play in Green Bay. And I'm like, I don't want to hear from any other team besides the Minnesota Vikings right now. That was a priority. And I'm so grateful that it all worked out.
Oh, we're happy to have you home. Thanks, Blake, very much. Good luck this year.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
My thanks to Blake for joining us. Obviously, Viking training camp is underway, and they're going to start their exhibition season not too far from now. So Blake is hoping to make a big impact. We're just a few days away from high school football starting in Minnesota. August 12th is the opening day of practice for two-a-days across the state. The schedule is out. We'll talk about matchups and players and all of those things as we move along in this podcast throughout the entire high school football season. Next week, Detroit Lions Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow will join us, former Chanhassen football star, and we'll talk about his journey. Also, the winningest football coach in Minnesota high school history, Mike Malin of Verndale, will be here to talk about his career, which, by the way, this will be year number 56 for Mike at Verndale. And Monticello star Luke Emmerich, who has committed verbally to Wisconsin, will also be here in studio to talk about his football journey. So that's next week. Thanks for watching. For producer Alex Haugen and the rest of the great folks here at Talk North, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.